Hey guys, it's Senti Reads, and as you can see by the video title, today I'll be fixing Scottie by Amberlynn Reid.
Are a disrespectful piece of shit.
Now I know I sort of pulled an Amberlynn by not finishing my series of rewriting Hello Darling, so I did not do a full rewrite of Scottie, I just wrote a new plot synopsis, but it is a pretty detailed one. But first, let me give you a recap of Scottie if you are unfamiliar with that. You can also go back and watch my video series on it, but I will give a quick recap here. If you've recently watched that series or you're just a Scottie fanatic and you know everything about it, you can go ahead and skip to the timestamp on the screen right now to skip all of this recap. So the first thing I did while preparing for this video was go through Scottie and reread the whole thing and take very detailed notes. So I will give a plot recap, but first, let's go over our cast of characters. We have Scottie, who is Amberlynn's self-insert, our main character. We have Scottie's dad, who is a cop, I guess. We have Scottie's mom, who's got it going on, and by it I mean cancer.
I'm sorry, but I am fucking repulsed.
We have Samantha, Scottie's little slut of a little sister who gets groomed way more than Wasabi. We have Jason, who is Scottie's boyfriend and pedo creep.
Have you figured out my type yet? And don't say 12-year-old, just don't say that.
Melanie, Scottie's friend who didn't beat teen pregnancy and doesn't deserve a nice car because she's poor. Mike, Melanie's baby daddy and reformed trash bag, praise Saint Scottie. Jordan, who is Scottie's friend and her gay awakening. Vanessa, who is Jordan's girlfriend, except she doesn't remember she is gay because she was in a coma after being hate crimed. That was a lot. Good lord.
Good lord, what is happening in there?
We have some random guy named Peter, who is Scottie's dweeb classmate. Mr. Samuel, who is a history teacher. Betsy, who's some weird old neighbor lady. Tim, who's Scottie's gay uncle and reluctant pen pal. And finally, Stephanie, the cute fat girl Scottie will settle for because she can't have Jordan. I wanted an easily accessible list of named characters so I could see what kind of cast I was playing with for my rewrite, and there's a lot of redundancies here, but we'll get to that later. Now for the plot of Scottie.
Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker.
Chapter 1. Scottie bitches about how strict her parents are, but then says they are close, but despite that. She eats a sausage, calls her sister Samantha a slut for wearing her own clothes. Chapter 2. Melanie picks Scottie up to take her to school. They talk about Melanie's shitbag boyfriend, Mike. Melanie then asks about Scottie's boyfriend, Jason, weirdly implying that they, Jason and Scottie, are going to have sex soon. This never goes anywhere. Chapter 3. During school, Scottie hangs out with Jordan and Vanessa at lunch. Scottie and Jordan weirdly flirt right in front of Vanessa, which is weird. Jason shows up and they go to Melanie's car and then they leave. I don't know where they go or what is even happening here. Chapter 4. Back in class, Jason bullies a kid, which is Peter, the nerd. Scottie bitches about how shitty he and their relationship are. She then answers a question completely wrong about World War I. Chapter 5. Scottie goes home from school and nothing else happens. Chapter 6. Skip to lunch at school in the cafeteria. Jordan and Vanessa are being lovey-dovey while Jason is being a douche. Chapter 7. Mom picks up Scottie from school and randomly asks her if she's had sex with Jason, but Scottie is a virgin. Duh. Weird. Okay. Goes nowhere again. Chapter 8. Jason comes over so they can go out to eat. He makes the egregious mistake of defending Samantha when Scottie calls her skanky, and then Scottie claims to be worried that Samantha will become a drug addict with AIDS from being raped because she's a slut. Yeah, I didn't make that up. This is things Scottie said.
There are girls outside right now that are taking selfies in front of a rock wall.
Chapter 9. More weird Jason and Samantha nonsense. Then they all go to Applebee's. Chapter 10. The family, including some weird old lady named Betsy who really never comes back after this scene, dine at Applebee's. She confuses Samantha and Jason as a couple, so Scottie sulks for attention and is then pissed when she doesn't get any. Chapter 11. Scottie blames all of her problems with Jason on Samantha's slut act. She talks about how her pets are the most specialist animals that have ever lived, and they're like Snow the parakeet, who's like a rainbow parakeet, and he's like the only rainbow one in the world. Just watch the series. It's fucking crazy. Chapter 12. Melanie calls and says she's pregnant. Chapter 13. Scottie goes to Melanie's house and they talk about the baby. Chapter 14. My parents disagree with gays, so Scottie has to sneak Jordan over. She tells Scottie that Vanessa was hate crimed and they don't know who did it, and then Vanessa needs some random surgery and she's in a coma and they can't visit her. Chapter 15. Scottie's mom finds Jordan and Scottie together in her room and she kicks Jordan out and forbids Scottie from ever seeing her again. Because gay reasons, I don't know. Chapter 16. Scottie goes to school in a bad mood. Jason bullies another person, and Scottie has a moment of gay panic when she helps the girl who Jason bullied and picks up her book. Chapter 17. Scottie ditches school to go to the hospital to sneak in to see Vanessa. Chapter 18. Scottie's dad finds out she ditched school and grounds her. Doesn't give a shit about what happened to Vanessa, despite being a cop, so I would think he would care. Chapter 19. Scottie and her dad go to the gym and get ice cream even though she's grounded, and then he immediately tells her she's not grounded anymore, which is confusing. Chapter 20. Scottie and Jordan chat online. Conversation is ruined when someone mentions Vanessa. Chapter 21. Jason randomly messages Scottie about nothing really, and it somehow pisses her off. Chapter 22. History class. Everyone is assigned a partner, and Scottie gets Stephanie, the cute fat girl that Jason bullied earlier. Chapter 23. Scottie and Samantha play Super Mario Party even though she's dressed like a prostitute. Samantha says she has plans on Saturday and is not at all subtle about the fact that they are with Jason. Chapter 24. Scottie talks to Melanie on the phone. They talk about the baby, and Melanie invites Scottie to an appointment. Chapter 25. Scottie lays in bed and thinks about how her life is a soap opera. That's it. It's one sentence. That's the chapter. Chapter 26. Scottie passes Stephanie a note in class about how she's excited for the history project, but she still thirsts for Jordan. Chapter 27. Scottie and Samantha go to buy clothes because Samantha keeps dressing herself like a hooker. Scottie buys her an even trashier hooker outfit. Chapter 28. Scottie and Melanie hang out. Melanie invites Jason over, and he's there for like 30 awkward seconds before leaving. Chapter 29. Scottie and Melanie watch the Titanic and talk about Vanessa. Chapter 30. Melanie brings Scottie home from school. Scottie shocks even herself by complimenting Samantha's appearance. Then Samantha leaves to go hang out with Jason. Her friend Nicole, that she totally didn't make up. Chapter 31. Scottie dreams of Stephanie and Jordan having their bodies switched, like Freaky Friday style, whatever. Scottie then eats dinner, and she calls Jason, who blows her off before hanging up. Chapter 32. Samantha comes home in a sweater that's way too big for her and clearly belongs to Jason. Samantha comically lies and says that her friend Nicole is just fat. Then they drop the subject and eat Chinese food. Chapter 33. Melanie calls and tells Scottie she can't go to the hospital to visit Vanessa because she has pregnancy heartburn. Scottie is happy that she gets to spend alone time with Jordan and her girlfriend Vanessa, who is in a coma. Chapter 34. Scottie and Jordan go to the hospital. They are told visitors aren't allowed, but run to the elevator and go anyway. They run into a random doctor and ask her about Vanessa's condition, and the doctor breaks HIPAA by telling them that Vanessa just woke up from her coma and has amnesia. They run into the room and Jordan collapses into tears. Chapter 35. Scottie and Jordan go back to Scottie's house for a sleepover, and they pretty quickly get all touchy-feely. Jordan kisses her cheek and Scottie gay panics! Chapter 36. Melanie picks up Scottie to take her to school. She asks if Jordan stayed the night, and Scottie admits she did, but weirdly decided she was going to walk to school, like Jordan just left and walked to school. Now things are weird between Melanie and Scottie because Scottie is lying and doing weird things. Chapter 37. Scottie talks to Stephanie because apparently that character still exists. Stephanie kissed Scottie's ass by saying people don't normally talk to her because she's the fat girl and you're the pretty girl. Chapter 38. Online conversation between Scottie and Melanie about nothing important. Chapter 39. Scottie and her mom make fettuccine alfredo for Vanessa and her mom because apparently Vanessa's mom is her mom's coworker, or at least I think they're over for dinner. The scene ends before anyone actually eats any fettuccine alfredo. Chapter 40. Scottie is worried about Samantha because she hasn't come home from school. Chapter 41. An undetermined amount of time has passed and Samantha still isn't home. Chapter 42. More time has passed, Samantha isn't home. Scottie theorizes that her new friend Nicole, who is obviously Jason, is a bad influence. Chapter 43. Samantha still isn't home. Chapter 44. Samantha finally comes home. Scottie instantly comes to the conclusion she must have been out prostituting. Chapter 45. Scottie has an awkward wet dream about Stephanie. Chapter 46. Class is awkward because Scottie can't stop thinking about what that mouth do. Disgusting! Chapter 47. Scottie decides she has to talk to Melanie's baby daddy Mike because Melanie is her best friend and he's sort of a dumpster fire of a person. Scottie shows up to his dusty, crusty trailer and lectures him into being a good person. It works immediately and Mike is now redeemed. Chapter 48. Scottie is shocked because Samantha just said that Jason is coming over to hang out with her as in Samantha, not Scottie. Scottie picks up on the obvious chemistry between Samantha and Jason and seems more jealous than disturbed. Chapter 49. Scottie comforts her mom while she throws up. Her mom faints. Her dad shows up in his cop outfit and takes care of her mom while Scottie has a panic attack for apparently an hour without anybody checking on her. Chapter 50. Scottie's mom is feeling better, I guess. Scottie gets a message from Stephanie and talks about her mom and the history project, which sends Scottie into so much of a gay panic that she can't sleep. Chapter 51. Scottie wakes up when Jordan calls her and excitedly invites her to the hospital because Vanessa can now have visitors. They go to the hospital and Vanessa's mom is weirdly a bitch to Scottie before tearfully warning them that Vanessa has amnesia. Scottie suddenly acts like Vanessa is her best friend of all time despite not really thinking about her or interacting with her or anything before now. It's so inspiring that even Vanessa's bitch mom seems happy. Chapter 52. Scottie calls Jordan, but she doesn't answer. Chapter 53. Scottie and Melanie chat online about how Scottie turned Mike into a great person through the magic of friendship. They stop talking and Scottie gay panics about how she isn't attracted to Jason. Jordan randomly comes over, upset with the whole amnesia thing. Scottie speculates that Vanessa might not even remember she's gay. Then they start watching The Simpsons. Jordan almost kisses Scottie, but leaves instead. Scottie is disappointed. Chapter 54. Scottie calls Jason with the sort of half-assed intention of breaking up. They agree to meet at Applebee's. Chapter 55. Jason picks up Scottie and takes her to Applebee's. He's acting super weird and it's all awkward. Then Jason gets a phone call and doesn't even answer it and tells Scottie her mom is in the hospital. They go to the hospital and the receptionist tells Scottie her mom is in the cancer emergency room. So Scottie passes out and Stephanie is randomly there to catch her before she can hit the floor. Chapter 56. Scottie wakes up in the hospital. A hot lady doctor tells her she had an anxiety attack after she found out her mom had cancer. Scottie's dad comes in and says Stephanie is at the hospital visiting her own mom and that's like why she was there, I guess. Scottie wants to visit her mom, but the doctor says she can see her when they leave the hospital the next day, as if Scottie also has cancer and not just an anxiety attack. Scottie pops a sleeping pill and dreams about Stephanie. Chapter 57. Scottie wakes up and finds Stephanie basically standing over her, which is not weird. Scottie thanks her for catching her and then asks about her mom. Stephanie says her mom was also there for an anxiety attack. Scottie is super insensitive and asks what caused it, and Stephanie dodges the question. Chapter 58. Scottie and her mom go home. Scottie's mom makes dinner, and Scottie doesn't help her despite thinking about how sad it is that she has cancer. Jason calls to apologize for not staying at the hospital, then asks to talk to Samantha. Scottie only sort of realizes how weird that is. Chapter 59. Melanie comes over and Scottie's mom immediately clocks her as being pregnant. Chapter 60. Scottie and Melanie are at a baby doctor appointment. Melanie is 3 months pregnant and due March 1st with a girl. It might have been a sweet moment if Scottie didn't weirdly point out Melanie's lazy eye. Chapter 61. Scottie goes home and her dad is there taking care of her sick mom, and so he knows that Scottie has skipped school. Scottie's dad calls her into his office and apologizes for not being more honest about her mom's cancer. Then he weirdly asks about Stephanie, which gets Scottie gay panicking. Scottie sits on her porch and sees her neighbor, that dweeb Peter from school. He comes over to sit with Scottie, and she randomly drops that he's always had a crush on her. Then he weirdly says he's noticed Jason and Scottie aren't hanging out that much, and he blatantly hits on her, and it's super creepy and weird. Scottie awkwardly laughs and just goes inside. Chapter 62. Melanie and her mom, and also Jordan for some reason, come to Scottie's house for dinner. They show up with a surprise guest, Mike. They sit around and talk about the weather, Britney Spears, and yesterday's breakfast before Melanie announces she is pregnant. Melanie's mom bursts into tears and runs to the bathroom. Dinner ends, but Jordan stays for some reason. Jordan apologizes for getting weird with Scottie last time. Then Scottie tries to kiss her, but Samantha ruins it by demanding printer paper. Chapter 63. Scottie is alone at lunch because all of her friends are somewhere else. Chapter 64. Online conversation between Scottie and Stephanie. Stephanie's mom apparently has only just now gotten out of the hospital. Stephanie invites Scottie to her house to work on their history project. Chapter 65. Scottie calls Melanie and they don't talk about anything important. Chapter 66. Scottie is annoyed because Jordan never called her like she said she would. She gay panics about liking Stephanie, and Jordan says she can't be gay because she has had 2 boyfriends in the past. Chapter 67. Scottie talks to Stephanie in class. They're working on a personal writing assignment, and Scottie is annoyed when Stephanie won't tell her what she's writing about. Skip to lunch, where Jason takes Scottie's fries, then breaks up with her. He said he found someone else, then leaves. Chapter 68. Scottie gets an awkward ride home from Jason, and Jordan is on her porch waiting for her. She says Vanessa's surgery went well and is excited that Vanessa wants to hang out with her despite her amnesia. Scottie then rudely bursts Jordan's bubble to remind her that amnesia made Vanessa forget she's a lesbian. Then they go inside and watch 50 First Dates and roll around in bed and make out. Chapter 69.
Nice.
Scottie's dad bursts into her room to ask where Samantha is. Jordan is already gone, so he didn't see anything gay and scandalous. It turns out Samantha was in the bathroom the whole time, dyeing her hair to look more like Scottie. Then Scottie has a brain blast and realizes Samantha must like Jason. Chapter 70. Scottie is supposed to go to Stephanie's house, but is anxious about interacting with her despite reminding the readers that she, as in Scottie, is super popular. Scottie calls to cancel and assures Stephanie she didn't cancel because of Stephanie being a fat loser. Stephanie cries because she's a fat loser and hangs up. Scottie is upset but can't talk to anyone, so she writes her gay Uncle Tim a letter. Chapter 71. Scottie has a boring day at home and reminisces about the olden days. Chapter 72. Scottie and Melanie go to Vanessa's house to hang out with her since she's been released from the hospital. Scottie reminds Melanie not to talk about Jordan because they aren't supposed to remind Vanessa that she's a lesbian, for reasons. Scottie gives a heartfelt speech to Vanessa's mom about how much she wants to be there for them and help them through this difficult time, and then covertly asks if Vanessa has remembered she's a lesbian. She hasn't, and they decide to let Vanessa remember on her own and mention throwing a welcome home party for her later that never goes anywhere and never happens. Chapter 73. Scottie and Melanie leave Vanessa's house. Melanie mentions going to a support group, and Scottie mopes about how she isn't enough to help and support Melanie, and she has to go to this group, and things are so much easier for Melanie because her problem, being pregnant, is out in the open and everybody can just see, but all of Scottie's problems are so secret. Chapter 74. Hot gay English teacher reads an inspiring story about being gay. Everyone claps. Scottie gay panics about Stephanie. Chapter 75. Scottie looks for Stephanie during lunch and finds her in the bathroom. Scottie apologizes and clears up that she really doesn't think Stephanie is a fat loser. Stephanie tells Scottie she's a great person and invites her over again. Chapter 76. Scottie and her mom are cooking dinner when her mom randomly tells Scottie she trusts her and knows she's not gay. Chapter 77. Scottie goes to Stephanie's house. Stephanie warns Scottie that her dad is rude. He proceeds to be rude. They go to Stephanie's room and decide not to work on the project, instead fantasizing about having a pool party. Scottie then asks Stephanie if they can use her pool for Vanessa's party that never happens or goes anywhere. Then they play The Sims. Chapter 78. Scottie goes home and Mike calls her. He tells her he's been sober ever since he talked to Scottie that one time. They talk about the support group, but Mike tells Scottie she can't come because she's too perfect and has no problems. Chapter 79. Scottie gets a letter in the mail from her gay Uncle Tim. Chapter 80. Scottie goes to the gym with her dad, then they immediately go get ice cream. Scottie's dad tells her to stop writing to Tim, but then immediately says she actually can keep writing to him. Chapter 81. Scottie says it's her mom's first day getting chemo, despite in an earlier scene saying she'd already started chemo. Scottie melodramatically rambles about how she's scared and pleads to God to save her mom and never talks about God or religion at all for the rest of Scottie. Chapter 82. The family all goes to chemo together. Chapter 83. The family then all leaves chemo and goes to the wig store together, where they're very rude and obnoxious. Chapter 84. Online conversation between Scottie and Stephanie. They flirt while talking about nothing. Chapter 85. Scottie goes to Jason's house to get some stuff that she left there. His mom lets her in even though he isn't home, and they've broken up, and she just lets her right in the house. Scottie finds Samantha's shirt in his room, and Scottie finally realizes what is happening. Chapter 86. Online conversation between Scottie and Jordan. Jordan invites her over, but says Vanessa will be there too. Scottie says, sure, I'll come over, but can I bring Melanie? Chapter 87. Scottie and Melanie go baby shopping. Then they go to a buffet where Scottie eats salad and rice. They see Jason and Samantha there eating together and spy on them. Scottie seems more pissed at her sister than concerned. Then Scottie and Melanie go to Jordan's house. Things are super weird between Jordan and Vanessa. They try to hint that Jordan likes girls, but Vanessa doesn't seem interested. Chapter 88. Scottie calls Stephanie. Stephanie says her dad wants her to lose weight. Chapter 89. Jason comes over to hang out with Samantha. Scottie makes burgers and garlic noodles for lunch and third wheels them. Chapter 90. Online conversation between Scottie and Stephanie about random nonsense. Chapter 91. Scottie gets a second letter from her gay Uncle Tim, and he suggests that they switch to email. And that's it. Scottie just abruptly ends at that point.
And, I get majority of people saying, wow, you're a really good writer, which feels really good.
Are you delusional?
I think I said that was going to be a brief recap, and it definitely was not brief. Sorry about that. Anyway, if we look at this random collection of events here, I tried to pull out what the main plot was and what the side plots were. There is no main plot that I can determine at all whatsoever. I know that there was no ending of Scottie, which would maybe clarify what the main plot was supposed to be, but as it stands, there is no main plot, only side plots. Side plot number 1. Scottie and Jason's relationship is on the rocks. They break up and he weirdly pursues her little sister. Side plot number 2. Jordan is sexy, but also has a girlfriend, Vanessa, who's been hate crimed by an unknown assailant, and this never gets cleared up in Scottie about why this happened or who did this to her, or if they are in jail, nothing. So Vanessa is in a coma, but then eventually she wakes up and forgets she's gay. Side plot number 3. Scottie gay panics constantly. It is her gay awakening. Side plot number 4. Melanie is knocked up and her baby daddy is a shitbag. Side plot number 5. Something is going on with side chick Stephanie. Possibly abusive parents, specifically her dad. That goes nowhere. Nothing in Scottie goes anywhere. So going into my rewrite of the plot synopsis, I knew that some of these side plots were going to have to go because you cannot accomplish this many things in one book and also have a main plot, so I also needed to decide what that main plot would be. Before I get into my plot synopsis or plot outline or whatever you want to call it, I want to go over some general changes that I made just to give you some clarity up front. For simplicity's sake, I won't change any of the characters' names, but I would definitely rename Scottie to Amber because that shit's funny. I would also change either Stephanie or Samantha's names because they are too similar and it gets very confusing with Scottie, Stephanie, Samantha. It's too much, too similar, I would change them. I'd also change Jordan and Jason. One of them would be getting a different name. This point doesn't matter too much because I actually entirely wrote Stephanie out of the story. Her character does not exist. That's not a thing anymore in Scottie. For this rewrite, I have decided to age Samantha down to being in middle school, so she's about 12 years old when I think in Scottie she was 14 and the rest of them were like 16 to 18, I don't remember. But now the rest of the characters in this book are seniors in high school and they are 17 or 18 years old. And Samantha is 12. Oh, I don't think I mentioned this on the subplot list, but it is definitely a subplot. Scottie's mom getting cancer. In this version, she does not get cancer. That is another thing I completely cut entirely. The next change I made is that Scottie's parents are no longer extremely homophobic, and the crime against Vanessa is not described as a hate crime. The term hate crime was explicitly used in Amberlynn's version of Scottie, and that is a very specific type of crime that I don't want to touch. We're not going there. It was not a hate crime. Before I get into my scene-by-scene outline of my version of Scottie, I want to say that the main plot that I decided on would be what happened to Vanessa, who did it, what happened, just what happened there. What caused this to, like, a hate crime is just going to go completely unexplained? That to me is the most baffling part of Scottie, is how much they just glossed over what happened to Vanessa. So that's why I put it front and center in my version. That is the plot, is figuring out what happened to Vanessa. So switching over to my plot outline here, I'll put something up on the screen so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. So when I outline, I like to follow a 3-act story structure, and I specifically follow the beat sheet from Save the Cat Writes a Novel. It's a very excellent tool for beginning writers as you start to look at story structure for the first time. You don't have to use every beat on the sheet, and I won't go over them in extensive detail because that's not what this video is about. There are plenty of videos out there about Save the Cat if you're interested in learning more. I just wanted to say that is sort of the structure I am following here. I tried my best to write Scottie to be comprehensive and a full story, but it definitely could use a little bit of work. So I'd love to hear your thoughts below in the comments about what you would do to fix Scottie, what you would do to fix my version of Scottie or Amberlynn's version. Just any opinions you have about Scottie, I would love to hear them. Without further ado, let's jump into the first act. Scottie wakes up late for school and gets ready like an early 2000s teen comedy like montage scene. I know you know what I'm talking about. She can't find the top she's looking for, and then Samantha comes out wearing it, which leads to a huge squabble. Scottie eats approximately 2 bites of the huge breakfast that her mother has lovingly prepared before rushing out to meet Melanie to get a ride to school. Melanie complains about her shitbag boyfriend Mike, and Scottie admits that things aren't going well with Jason either, as he's been distant recently. For the theme stated beat, I have Scottie, Jason, Jordan, and Vanessa eating lunch in the cafeteria. Melanie isn't there because she's throwing up in the bathroom from being pregnant, and Scottie doesn't know this yet and only sort of vaguely wonders where Melanie is, and she really doesn't pick up on this pregnancy thing at all. Jordan and Vanessa are all over each other, which makes Scottie insecure because Jason is buried in his phone, ignoring her. She tries to get his attention, but he blows her off, saying he's busy with baseball stuff. Because in my version, Jason does baseball stuff. He might be a football player in the original, I don't remember, but he does baseball here, it's kind of important. Scottie complains that if he's that worried about baseball, he should just go eat with the team. So he does. The theme here is that Scottie can't bear to be alone, but pushes people away because of her own insecurity or immaturity. She associates with toxic people because she'd rather have them than be alone, and she willfully ignores their bad qualities and any problems they're having just in favor of having friends. That's my theme with Scottie. That brings us to the setup beat. After lunch, Scottie goes to history class. Before class starts, Peter, who is a dweeb in the first book who is really not utilized at all, I wanted to have him have a comeback here. Peter sits in Jason's seat, right beside Scottie, to chat with her. Jason comes in and rudely tells Peter to get out of his seat. The teacher comes in and class starts before Scottie can say anything to Jason. Jason forgot his textbook, and instead of sharing with Scottie, he shares with his baseball player friend who sits on his other side, and Scottie is obviously butthurt about all of this and moping about it. It is very clear things are not going well with Jason. Melanie went home from school sick, and Scottie can't get a hold of Jason, so she walks home by herself, moping all the way. She waits at the middle school to surprise Samantha to walk home together, but Samantha never comes out. Scottie gets a text from Vanessa, of all people, saying she wants to talk to her about something, but Scottie is emo and just ignores her. We're now at the catalyst beat, or some people like to call it the inciting incident, if you've heard that term before. Scottie waits at Applebee's for Jason to show up for their date that they have every Friday. They just go to Applebee's, that's their place. He is 20 minutes late, and she can't get a hold of him. Her phone rings, and she thinks it's him, but it's actually Jordan. She's very frantic and says that Vanessa is in the hospital after something bad has happened. Scottie goes to the hospital and is told Vanessa was attacked and is currently in a coma. Scottie and Jordan are stuck in the waiting room because they aren't allowed to go back and see Vanessa. Scottie basically just holds Jordan while she cries, and it's a super emotional, dramatic moment. Our next beat is the debate. So now that the inciting incident has happened, the main character, Scottie, has to figure out what she's going to do about this. How is she going to handle Vanessa being attacked? Is she going to do anything at all? If she is going to do something, what is she going to do? Scottie asks her cop dad if he knows anything about what happened to Vanessa, because remember, her dad is a cop, and that never comes up in the first book, really, or first book, wow. In Amberlynn's version of Scottie, it never comes up that her dad is a cop, so I wanted to try to bring that back here. So Scottie asks her cop dad if he knows anything about what's going on with Vanessa and the investigation. He tells her that they're looking into it, but they don't really have any leads, and all they know is that Vanessa was found somewhere, like in an abandoned house or something near the middle school, and she was hit in the head several times with a blunt object, which obviously is not good. That's a pretty violent attack. He seems to know more, but he won't say anything. Scottie wants to help figure out who hurt Vanessa and why she was attacked, but she's afraid because obviously the person who did this is very dangerous. The abandoned house near the middle school is like known for drug activity, and weird stuff happens there, and there's drifters, and so it's kind of a mystery why Vanessa was even there. So there's a lot going on here, and Scottie has to decide, is she going to try to figure it out, or what is she going to do? Samantha comes home from wherever she's been, and Scottie asks where she was, because remember, Scottie waited for Samantha after school that one time, and she never showed up. Samantha is super sketchy and says that she was at an after-school club and then went to her friend's house to study for a math test, and that's where she was. Nowhere suspicious. This brings us right up to the end of the first act with our break into two beat. This is the scene where the character will decide whatever they've been debating on. They will make a choice one way or another, and that will lead into the second act where they now act on this choice and do whatever it is they decided to do. Scottie decides she must investigate what happened with Vanessa and starts by going to Mike's trailer to ask him what he knows about who hangs out at the abandoned house that Vanessa was found in, because Mike deals weed in this version of Scottie, and so Scottie knows that he hangs out at that drug house sometimes. He does deals there. Like, he's just there sometimes, so he might know, like, who hangs out there. Mike says that he doesn't know anything about what happened to Vanessa, but he does know the person who discovered Vanessa in the house and was, like, the one who called the police to get her help and probably saved her life, honestly. But he refuses to tell Scottie because he doesn't want her to get involved. Scottie tries to go to the abandoned house herself to, like, go all Nancy Drew, but it's all blocked off with police tape, and there are still investigators around, so she can't really get inside. We are now in the second act, which sort of has an intermix here of the fun and games beat, which is the investigation. So that is whatever your character decided to do in the debate. That's the fun and games. That's them acting on that choice. And then also the B story, which is whatever subplots you have going on. Remember, I cut a fuckload of subplots out of the previous version. So there is still the Melanie is pregnant subplot, and there is still a romance subplot, even though I cut out the Stephanie character, because throughout Scottie, all she does is thirst over Jordan. So why don't we give the people what they want? There is now a romantic subplot with Jordan, so you'll see how that plays out. Without further ado, Act 2. Scottie calls Jordan and asks to meet up somewhere to talk about her plans to investigate what happened to Vanessa. They meet up at Scottie's house, and Scottie is about to show Jordan her creepy Vanessa murder board that she made, like with all the red strings and post-it notes and everything, when Jordan plants a kiss right on her out of nowhere, just really smacks one on her. They make out for a minute before Jordan pulls away. She fumbles an apology about being so stressed out with what's going on with Vanessa, and she just lost control of herself, and then she quickly leaves. Scottie is really confused and is weird with Jordan the next day at school because she's like, what the fuck just happened? Am I gay? What is happening? I'm panicking. Melanie and Jason are also acting weird, but like Scottie doesn't really have the energy to figure out why. The vibes are just off all around. Scottie goes to history class, and Peter is the only one who seems happy, and he's just doing his own weird thing. He tries to chat with Scottie before class, but she's still a little shell-shocked about all that's happened. The history teacher comes in and says they all have to go to the assembly instead. They go to the auditorium, and the principal talks about what happened with Vanessa and tells the students to be safe and vigilant, and he says if anyone knows something, they should come forward and say something. Melanie drives Scottie home from school, and Scottie begs her to get Mike to give her more information about the abandoned house and like what he knows. Melanie seems stressed and irritated by this, but won't say what's bothering her, and Scottie honestly doesn't bother to ask. She says she will try to get Mike to tell her what he knows, and that's sort of the end of that. When Scottie gets home, Jason is already there waiting for her with flowers, which means he must have cut his last class to like go get them and not like bring her home from school himself. He apologizes for being distant recently, and Vanessa's attack was an eye-opener for how much he cares about Scottie and wants to make things work with her. They walk to a nearby park, and Jason is weirdly asking a lot of questions about what Scottie has been up to recently, and she feels very guilty about his sudden care and attention for her after she kissed Jordan. She asks him why he was late to dinner that time, which would have been the day of the attack, and he says nowhere, he was just running late. Scottie makes an excuse to go home, and as she arrives, Samantha looks like she's getting ready to go somewhere. So Jason offers to drop her off, and they leave together. There's a knock on the door, and Scottie thinks Jason might have come back, but it's actually Jordan. Scottie asks if she's there to talk about the investigation, but Jordan says to leave it to the cops because she can't bear to spend every waking moment worrying about what happened to Vanessa and thinking about Vanessa and how much she must have suffered and who attacked her and who did it, and she just needs someone to find some comfort with. So the two then get very spicy because they have the house to themselves, and they begin this illicit affair of finding comfort in each other through this stressful situation. A few days have passed, and the cops don't seem any closer to figuring out what happened with Vanessa. Jason has been extra attentive and has been driving Scottie and Samantha to and from school, which is good because Melanie has been extra flaky recently with the rides. Scottie thinks that Melanie is avoiding her on purpose because she doesn't want to be bothered about what Mike knows. Jason is giving Scottie extra attention and spending a lot of time with her at her house, which you would think Scottie wanted, but now is very annoying to her because all she really wants is to see Jordan. Jason's overbearing attention is also keeping her from investigating the crime, but she seems less interested in that than seeing Jordan. Jordan's been sneaking to Scottie's house every night after she leaves the hospital and after Jason has left so they can do some late night smooching. Scottie and Jason are awkwardly hanging out in the living room when Samantha comes downstairs with dark hair like Scottie. She's also wearing one of Scottie's shirts. Scottie is creeped out, and Jason also seems weirded out by this because he makes an excuse to leave. Jason also has an excuse not to go pick up Scottie or drop her off at home the next day for school, so she decides to walk home. She still can't search the house, like the abandoned house that Vanessa was found in, because there's too many police officers around and stuff. So she looks around the general area because the cops haven't found whatever weapon Vanessa was attacked with, and Scottie sort of knows from true crime shows that weapons are often ditched near the scene of the crime. It seems like she's close to finding something when Samantha interrupts Scottie to ask what she's doing. Scottie thinks Samantha is acting weird enough already and doesn't want to scare her, so no talking about the investigation or anything. So they just walk home together and don't really talk about it. Peter, who remember is Scottie's neighbor, that was in Amberlynn's version, so I kept that here. Peter is still her neighbor. Peter is on his porch and waves to them, but Samantha seems embarrassed to see him for some reason and rushes inside. Some undetermined amount of time passes. I think this is a place where more scenes could be added, but I couldn't really come up with anything that would need to be revised. Anyway, some stuff happens, and the next scene I have written down here is that Scottie and Melanie go out to lunch. Melanie seems to have something to say, but Scottie can't stop grilling her about what Mike knows and talking about her investigation, and she's just totally steamrolling the conversation. She complains about how weird Samantha is. Melanie cannot get a word in about what is clearly bothering her, and it's not a productive lunch. This brings us to our midpoint plot beat, which is frequently a plot twist, so I decided to have a little bit of a plot twist here. Scottie gets a call from Jordan to meet her at the hospital because Vanessa has woken up from her coma, but she can't remember anything about what happened or what happened the whole week before, she was attacked. So she does still remember, who Jordan is, who Scottie is, that she's dating Jordan. She remembers all that stuff, but she doesn't remember anything about the attack. Jordan seems to completely forget about Scottie and is all over Vanessa the moment she wakes up. Scottie might as well be chopped liver. The next plot beat is bad guys close in, and in this case, it's not a specific bad guy like a specific antagonist, except, I guess you could say the person who attacked Vanessa is the antagonist, but really the bad guys here are just Scottie's shitty circumstances and the consequences of all the shitty choices she has made. Since Jordan is being all lovey-dovey with Vanessa again, Scottie feels really jealous, so they're still at the hospital, visiting her, and she steps out into the hallway to call Jason to tell him the good news, but really she's just trying to make Jordan jealous, and Jordan doesn't even notice at all. Jason weirdly doesn't seem excited about Vanessa waking up and is asking a lot of questions about what she said about the attack, and Scottie gets frustrated with him only talking about Vanessa, even though she called to talk about Vanessa, and sort of hangs up on him. At school the next day, all anyone can talk about is Vanessa, which irritates the fuck out of Scottie, and she's so mad that nobody seems to care that she's trying to figure out what happened to Vanessa, and she's not getting any kudos for her investigation. Nobody's giving her any ass pats for looking into that. Peter tries to talk to her about something after school, but she pretty much ignores him. Jason shows up and is weirdly nice to Peter, even though he's bullied him in the past. And Jason and Scottie go out to Jason's car for a ride home. Before she can get into the car, he breaks up with her. His excuse is that they've just grown apart, and with everything happening with Vanessa, he didn't want to break up with Scottie then and cause more stress, but now they know Vanessa is okay, so they're going to break up now. Scottie is too stunned to throw back any witty remarks or shitty anything. She just can't say anything, and she spends the rest of her night sulking in her room. She's even more pissed that Jordan never shows up for their routine nightly makeout session. The next day, Scottie plays hooky at school and goes to the hospital to grill Vanessa about what happened. Vanessa is happy to see Scottie at first, but Scottie is so aggressive with her questions, and that makes things awkward fast. On the verge of tears, Vanessa says she really can't remember anything. She truly has amnesia. She doesn't know anything about the attack. And Jordan comes in, because she also skipped school. She does that now. And so Jordan comes in and sees that Scottie is basically yelling at Vanessa. Vanessa's in tears, and Jordan is pissed about this and kicks Scottie out. Scottie is on a rampage at this point, and she is pissed, and she just has to bitch at someone. So Scottie goes to Mike's trailer unannounced to demand that he tell her who found Vanessa, and he must tell her what he knows. This investigation is happening, damn it. People are going to cooperate now. Scottie thinks that if she can solve the crime of what happened to Vanessa, then maybe it will impress Jordan enough to win her back, even though Jordan got Vanessa, that's all she wanted. Melanie is there at the trailer with Mike, and she's clearly upset about something. Mike is irritated that Scottie is so interested and focused on what is going on with Vanessa that she can't see what's right in front of her with what's happening with Melanie, her supposed best friend. Scottie is very confused by this and asks what he means, and Melanie suddenly announces that she is pregnant. She claims she didn't tell anyone because she wasn't sure if she wanted to keep the baby, but it's too late now and she has no choice. Really, the reason why she didn't say anything is because things were going on with Vanessa and nobody really seemed to be interested in Melanie, so she just kept it to herself, and Scottie was too dumb to realize something was going on. Scottie tries to apologize, but then Mike cuts her off and is like, nope, Scottie, this is not the time. You suck. You messed up. However, I will tell you what you want to know. I was the one who found Vanessa. It was horrible. It was traumatic. I don't know anything about what happened. I walked in, saw her there bloody on the floor, called an ambulance. That was it. You gained no information and you harassed me for nothing. Congratulations, get the fuck out of my trailer. And then he kicks her out too. Oh, but not without a parting remark that he's like, Scottie, stop getting into this investigation. You're putting yourself in danger and you're going to put Melanie in danger by proxy because she's your friend and Vanessa was your friend and something happened there and like, Melanie's pregnant now. Like, keep her out of your investigation. It's too dangerous. Get the fuck out of my trailer. Since nobody will really talk to Scottie anymore, she has just about burned every bridge she has. Scottie resorts to going to Jason's house. When he's not there, she tells his mom she's there to pick up some of her stuff after the breakup. His mom lets her in and Scottie goes to Jason's room. She finds a ton of her clothes there, like way more clothes than should be there, and she kind of thinks that's weird but doesn't think too much about it. And she's digging around under the bed when she finds a trash bag. She opens it up to find a bloody baseball bat! Whoa! What? Plot twist! What the fuck? Scottie starts panicking, so she shoves all of her clothes into that bag with the bloody baseball bat, the weapon, the murder weapon, well, attempted murder weapon, attack weapon, whatever the fuck. She's like, oh shit, and she just takes that with her. Scottie gets home from this day of fucking ruining everything, and she is alone, so she decides to ruin some more shit and breaks into her father's office to look through his files. Something I didn't mention in the first version of Scottie is that her father, who is a cop, weirdly has a home office. Like, I don't know what he has there, so I assumed, you know what, let's give him some case files for Scottie to look through. She finds notes on Vanessa's case and learns that Mike was telling the truth about being the one who found her, and like his interview is there, and it's basically all he just said is he just walked in, saw her bloody, it was traumatic, and he immediately called for help. And because he was so quick about that, she was able to be saved. Otherwise, she probably would have died, so he's very traumatized. The investigators have said that there was a note in Vanessa's pocket that said, I know what you saw, and they were processing fingerprints that were found on that note. One set belonged to Vanessa, and the other was currently unidentified. Scottie, after what she has just found, believes that it must belong to Jason. Now that the bad guys have thoroughly closed in here, we go to the all is lost beat. So now Scottie's really about to get hammered. Scottie calls Jason and says she wants to talk. He tries to blow her off, but Scottie's like, no, I'm not having none of this shit. I know what you did, and I have proof, so if you don't come over right away and we talk about what happened, I'm going to call my dad and I'm going to tell him everything. After an hour, Jason hasn't shown up, and Scottie is about to call him again, but as she picks up her phone, she gets a call from her dad. He tells her that Jason was just brought to the hospital for a drug overdose and asks her if there's anything he needs to know. Like, is Scottie also doing drugs? Do they know something? Like, what is going on with this? This seems maybe like a suicide attempt. So, like, something's happening with Jason, and her dad is like, yo, what's going on? Scottie is horrified and says, like, no, I don't do drugs. I didn't know he did drugs. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, no, I don't know anything. After all has been lost, that brings us to Dark Night of the Soul, where Scottie gets to be her most emo self, which she's been waiting for this the whole time because Scottie loves nothing more than to sulk. Scottie feels horrible for what happened to Jason because she feels like it's her fault for pushing him, and she kind of seems more worried about, like, Jason than what he did to Vanessa, which is like, oh, okay, Scottie. She doesn't know what to do with the bat because she realized she's tampered with evidence because, like, she put her clothes in the bag, and now she's kind of worried that she's also going to be tied into the crime, like she planned this with Jason. And she doesn't know what to do because she feels like now she's ruined the whole investigation and now this crime will never be solved because Jason might be dead and she's the only one who knows what happened, but she can't say anything because she might also get in trouble and she's just fucking ruined everything. Thanks, Scottie. There's nobody she can call for help because all of her friends hate her now and she just really doesn't know what to do. That brings us to the end of the second act as we go into the break into 3 beat to go to the third act. During all of her moping and sulking and walking around town just to try to clear her head, Scottie gets a text from a random number that says that this person, whoever the texter is, They'll tell her everything if she shows up to the abandoned house alone in the next 10 minutes. Scottie doesn't call any of her friends because she knows none of them will show up anyway, and she also doesn't call the cops because then her dad will know she's been investigating and find out about the bat and maybe she'll get in trouble. So she just does as she's told and she rocks up to the abandoned house to see who texted her. Thus begins the most action-packed of the book here, the finale. This is where we're going to wrap up the main plot of what happened to Vanessa and the subplots that I've been going throughout this time, all going down in the finale here. Scottie goes to the abandoned house to confront whoever texted her. She's shocked to find that it's Peter, and he seems extremely nervous but also weirdly excited. He tells her that he suspects Jason was the one who hurt Vanessa because Vanessa recently told Peter that she saw something she shouldn't have with one of her friend's boyfriends, but wasn't sure if she should tell them, like tell her friend. And if that sounds confusing, that's because it is. Scottie is skeptical that Vanessa would confide in Peter of all people because she didn't even think they were friends. And she asks how Peter knows that Vanessa wasn't referring to Mike because he's always doing sketchy shit. And if anybody's doing something sketchy, it's probably Mike, like Melanie's boyfriend. Like, he's probably the boyfriend doing something wrong. Why would Peter assume it was Jason? Peter seems like kind of flustered by this and says, exactly, it must not have been Mike because he does bad stuff all the time. So Vanessa wouldn't be conflicted about it. So she must be talking about you, Scottie. It must be Jason. Jason must have did this. Scottie isn't so sure and the vibes are super weird. Peter then oddly brings up the breakup with Jason and tries to ask what happened there, but Scottie is uncomfortable and tries to leave because she's like, Peter doesn't seem to know anything about what happened to Vanessa. I don't like this. This is weird. She tries to go, but then Peter asks if it's because she found out what was happening with Samantha. Record scratch. What? Remember that Scottie has not picked up about what is going on with Jason and Samantha this whole time. Like, it was so obvious in the first version of Scottie that weird shit was going on, and Scottie just never really picked up on it or cared. Same thing here. Scottie never realized that Jason was grooming Samantha. Scottie asks what the fuck Peter is talking about, and Peter reminds her that he's her neighbor, so he's seen Jason climbing out of Samantha's window, but he didn't say anything for a long time because he thought that Jason was leaving Scottie's room, and then like one day he realized it was Samantha's room, and he's like, oh shit, that's real weird, because remember in this version, Samantha is 12, and they're like 18. So I wanted to make it very unambiguously fucked up in this version. There is no excusing it. It is wrong. Scottie is very confused and disturbed and asks when Peter found out it was Samantha's room and why he never told her or anyone else what was happening, because this is clearly fucked up and Samantha needs help. And she's like, well, if you knew about this, why didn't you fucking tell anyone? Peter fumbles his way through his explanation and says that he and Vanessa were walking home from school or something, and they saw Jason and Samantha kissing behind the middle school, and that's how he found out for real, and he was just like too worried to say anything because Jason seemed to make eye contact with them. So Peter claims he was scared that when something happened to Vanessa, it must have been Jason silencing her, and Peter would be the next one if he didn't keep his mouth shut about what happened with Samantha. He says that he knows Scottie has been investigating like what happened to Vanessa, and she must have found some evidence to bring to the police to prove it was Jason, to put him away once and for all, and to keep Peter and everyone else safe. Scottie has a smart moment for once in her life, and she's like, that kind of contradicts what you said earlier about not knowing what was bothering Vanessa and assuming that it was Jason, because here you just clearly said that you know what happened with Jason. So what happened? Did she confide in you that something vague was happening, or did you see it with your own eyes? Get your story straight, Buster. Scottie tries to leave and Peter blocks the door. A fight ensues as he tries to restrain her to get her to listen to what he has to say, and he says that the stuff that happened with Jason is true, and Scottie admits she believes that, but doesn't think it was Jason who hurt Vanessa, because that is not what's going on here. Peter gets frustrated with the fact that he can't convince Scottie of his story, and he admits he did it and set Jason up for it because it was allegedly the only way to get justice for what was happening with Samantha. He's like, oh, well, if I went to the police, they would never have believed me. I didn't have any evidence. So, like, the only way I could get Jason to stop boning Samantha was to, like, frame him for what happened to Vanessa and get him put into jail. Scottie says that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because why would he try to save one young girl by hurting another? That makes no sense, because he almost killed Vanessa. Like, she almost died. So she's like, you would really kill a girl to try to save another girl? Like, that is fucking bullshit. You did not, there's no way that's why you did this. Peter is getting increasingly frustrated by the fact that Scottie won't just cooperate with what's going on, and he pulls out a knife. Scottie runs and he chases her all around the house, and it's like this super dramatic scene as they're running around, and he yells that if Scottie only would have realized for herself what a piece of shit Jason was and realized how much better Peter was, then none of this would have had to happen. Scottie realizes that Peter only wants Jason out of the picture so that he can get with her, and he was really never trying to help anyone, especially not Samantha. In the first version of Scottie, Amberlynn had written this kind of weird, like, Peter was this dweeb, and then all of a sudden he was, like, super obsessed with Scottie in one scene and, like, was flirting with her and stuff. So I really took that and ran with it for this version, and I was like, you know what? Let's go there. Peter is an obsessed stalker weirdo. I just fully leaned into that. Peter corners Scottie, and it looks like it's the end for our girl, but then suddenly he just falls over dramatically, and Samantha is standing behind him holding a taser. This brings us to the end of the ordeal that is Scottie with our closing image. We have a time skip of about a year, and Scottie and Samantha are leaving a courthouse hand in hand after a trial that's just been happened. It's revealed that what Peter said was true, and Samantha and Jason did have something super gross and illegal going on, like they were having sex, and 12-year-old to 18-year-old, that is blatantly illegal. If you think otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. You're a fucking creep, and honestly, the world is better off without you. Sorry, not sorry.
I said what I said, and always. I'm not changing on it, okay?
Anyway, Peter was telling the truth about that there really was something going on with Samantha and Jason, and Scottie was just too blind to see it. It turns out that Peter actually was walking home with Vanessa, and he was basically just following Vanessa, like stalking her too, to try to get information about Scottie, and that's why they were together that day. And so they're walking home, and they really did see Samantha and Jason together kissing outside of the middle school. And Samantha and Jason see that Peter and Vanessa have saw them. I know that sounds confusing, but all four of them are kind of in on what happened here, and they all know that everybody else knows, which then led Peter to hatch his plan to attack Vanessa and pin it on Jason, and then in the process potentially revealing his pedophilic affair. But that really wasn't his point. If that happened, that was like a good side benefit, but really Peter just wanted Jason out of the picture so he could get with Scottie. Peter was also sort of blackmailing Jason behind the scenes, and he sent him the bloody baseball bat with a demand to break up with Scottie, or he would go, like, turn him into the police or something. He maybe had some kind of other evidence or something to pin Jason to the crime, and he's like, look, I've got this bloody baseball bat as evidence. If you don't break up with Scottie right now, I'll turn in my real evidence to the police. And so that's why Jason broke up with Scottie so abruptly, and why he had the baseball bat in his possession, even though he was not the one who committed the crime. That was Peter's doing. And then it's also revealed that Samantha was at the abandoned house that day, maybe because, like, she heard about what happened with Jason and knew that, like, Jason didn't actually do this crime because they were together. That was why Jason was late to Applebee's that time, is because he was with Samantha. So that is his alibi for the crime, is he was boning a 12-year-old. So he couldn't exactly tell anybody that. So it makes him look very suspicious that he wouldn't tell anybody where he was. But Samantha knows that Jason did not commit the crime because they were boning. So that leaves kind of her thought that Peter must have done this. So when something happened to Jason, that he, like, took the drugs and attempted to take his life, she knew that something was going on. Scottie has been investigating this crime. She had a bad feeling, and she showed up to the abandoned house and happened to witness this confrontation and save Scottie. And while I was writing this, I was trying to figure out, should Scottie save herself? And it's like this moment of, oh, Scottie, you don't need all these toxic random people in your life if you could just be good enough for yourself and stand up for yourself and be the person you need. But I didn't want to go that route because I kind of wanted Samantha to have some more character agency here. And Scottie looks down on Samantha so fucking much that I really wanted Samantha to pull through and be the hero here. Anyway, they're leaving the courthouse together. They're getting along very great. And you think that this is Peter's trial for, like, attempted murder or for the attack or whatever. But it's revealed that that already happened. He's already been convicted of, like, maybe attempted murder and some other crimes. And they're actually leaving Jason's trial for the pedophilic shit because he never ever faces consequences in the original Scottie. Nobody cares that he's doing this weird shit with an underage girl, because I'm pretty sure in that version, Samantha is 14 and he's like 17 or 18, which some people are going to excuse, and you're gross. If you think that's cool, you're nasty. And Jason never faced any consequences for that. So in this version, something had to happen. Jason had to get clapped, and so he's going to jail for what he did. They're leaving his trial, and everything is sunshine and rainbows now. Melanie is outside with Mike and their baby in a stroller because she has made up with Scottie and they're on good terms now. Vanessa and Jordan are off in college somewhere together and they don't really talk to the group anymore, and Scottie doesn't worry about that so much because she's grown as a person. Scottie is also single now and she's doing her own thing in college, and she is studying criminal justice just like our girl Amber because Scottie is Amber. Anyway, sorry guys, I know it got a little unhinged there at the end, but Scottie was fucking wild to begin with, so I really had to work hard to come up with some semblance of a storyline here, and maybe this is just as wild, maybe this is just as bad, just as cringe. I would love to hear how you would improve the plot of Scottie in the comments below, how you would improve my version or Amber's version, because I know my version here is not perfect. There's definitely maybe some plot holes. If you come up with any plot holes, please let me know. But there's definitely some work that can be done here on this version, so I'm really interested to know how you would fix it. I think I've rambled long enough about Scottie though, and my brain is total mush, so that's all I have time for in this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!
I read them and she was literally just amazed at my writing, and she told me that it would be the easiest thing in the world for me to get that published because it was so well written.